Imagine being able to generate an unlimited amount of customers profitably. Imagine being able to do it predictably every month. Imagine being able to do it without it costing you anything. So you're essentially getting your customers to finance your own acquisition. And imagine being able to do it at scale and having a system like that in place. That's what we're going to discuss in this video. I'm going to walk through pretty much the entire blueprint of how I think about building out a proper department inside of a business that produces the end result of acquiring customers on tap. I'm currently working with a couple different agency owners, and this is what we're working on. One of them is in the landscaping niche, and he's at that 10K a month, and he's moving into this niche, and we're about to scale up. The other one is in a different niche, offering more videographer services. He's already at 25K a month, and we're looking to scale him up to 50 and beyond. One of them's in paid ads. The other one is doing cold DM outreach. And so what I'm going to do in this video is pretty much share with you the metrics that I laid out with them, the KPIs that we laid out, and how I got them to think about their own client acquisition department, and how it's pretty much changing the game for how they go about running their business. Now, this is going to be a whiteboard session. There's going to be a lot of editing. So if I make mistakes, please bear with me. I've got my notes to the left, so I'm going to be looking over to the left. But nonetheless, let's dive into it. Okay. So if you watch the video that I put up previously, I talked about how important it was for you to build 3 proper departments in your business, right? There's 3 departments that you need to really scale an agency or a service-based business. Department number 1 was client acquisition. Department number 2 was client retention and success. And department number 3 was building out systems of scale. This video is going to be specifically about client acquisition, okay? So I'm just going to deep dive a little bit more into client acquisition and break down exactly how I think about this. And, it's going to give you a ton of ideas. Now, just to kind of summarize from my last video, until you have found a way to get customers predictably, meaning you have some sort of tap that you can turn on and off, some sort of inputs you can, I put this much input in, that creates this much result. Unless you can predictably do that every month, unless you can profitably do that, right? And then unless you can do it at scale, you don't have this department fully sorted within your business. And you need to focus on getting that sorted. And if you don't have that sorted, it doesn't matter how amazing your brand looks. It doesn't matter how well edited your videos are. It doesn't matter how amazing your client results are. Quite frankly, if you cannot acquire new customers, you will never be able to scale, at least at the rate that I know a lot of you guys want to scale out. If you're anything like me, you want a lot of growth in a short period of time, which can be detrimental, by the way, but that's for another video. So how do we create this, and how do we pretty much put this together? So what I'm going to do is really just start by breaking down my philosophy on doing this for paid ads. And what we're going to do is start by laying out KPIs, okay? If you don't have KPIs, which stands for key performance indicators, meaning benchmarks that need to be hit, then you're never going to build out this department. You have to almost picture it like Charlie Morgan has a really great analogy on this. He pictures it like I know what he said. It was like a pipe or something. So that's like, you imagine a pipe, and then like every part of the pipe is a different section in your client acquisition journey. And you need to make sure everything is like tweaked correctly so that the water can, freely go through and flow well. And that's what your KPIs are. Now, I guarantee the majority of you do not have this laid out, and laying this out will change the game. And the reason why it's incredibly important to do an exercise like this is because when you lay out your KPIs, what you then do is you get really clear on where you need to actually put your attention and focus. Because I have my client acquisition KPIs laid out clearly, I know exactly what I need to be focusing on inside my agency at the moment. And it's been annoying. It's taken a bit of time. I've had some ups, I've had some downs, but I'm working on fixing the problem that will actually make a difference and move the needle forward. That's the important part. In the past, I'd be trying to fix all these random little things, and nothing would advance the business forward because I wasn't focusing on the actual thing that needed, the actual bottleneck that needed to be relieved. So I'll pretty much help you in this video draw out your KPIs, and you can do this with me as you're watching. Based on what result you want, what revenue number you want to reach, we can pretty much reverse engineer and then be able to put together our KPIs. So let's start with paid ads. Okay. So with paid ads, what I like to start with is number one, your desired revenue goal. Okay. That's first and foremost where we should start. Like, how much money do you want to make per month? You know, we can put aside profit for now. Let's assume you're profitable. What do you actually want to reach? What is your revenue goal? Now, let's say, just to keep things nice and clean, it's 100K per month. Great. Write that down for yourself. What is our revenue goal? Perfect. Now you've got like this end goal that you want to hit. The second is you need to figure out what the difference is, right? So the difference at the moment. So how much do you actually need to bridge that gap? If you're at 10K per month, that would be 90K. If you're at 30K per month, that would be 70K. So let's just say you're at that 70K a month mark that you need, right? You need this to essentially bridge that gap, okay? So then the next thing you're going to do is go, okay, I need essentially 70K in MRR, monthly recurring revenue, to hit my goal of 100K per month. Now, if only running a business, a service-based business or an agency was that simple, where you just sign people on and they just always pay you every month and there wasn't churn. But unfortunately, there is churn. People will leave. And so you need to factor that in when you're trying to draw out your projections. So the next thing you're going to need to figure out is what your churn percentage is. Now, the simplest way of figuring out churn is how many clients did you have signed on going into the new month, right? And then how many clients actually renewed in that month. So let's say you signed on 5 clients last month. You also had, 10 clients renew. So let's say you're at 15 clients. So you started the month with 15 clients, and all 15 of those clients are meant to pay you something in that month. Now, let me make that 10 clients just to make it easy. So let's say you're expecting 10 clients to renew in that month, right? So in the month of May. Now, at the end of the month, how many out of those clients actually renewed and paid you, right? How many canceled is what you want to figure out. So if 8 out of those 10 actually continued and paid you, that means your retention was 80%. As a result, your churn rate was 20% because you lost 2 out of 10 clients. If you're at 30 clients and you lost 6, so only 24 renewed, that means, you take 6, and you see where that leaves you. It's around that 20% churn mark as well. Now, if you sign on more new clients in that month and they pay you, you don't include that and then have, for example, let's say you had 10 new clients start active, you end the month with only 8, but then you signed on 10 and you go, I have 18 clients, my churn is positive 180%. It doesn't work that way. You have to calculate churn based on the clients that you had at the start of the month and how many out of those specific clients actually renewed with you. That's an accurate calculation of churn. So now that you know your churn rate, you essentially have an idea on your leakage. So let's say you've got a bucket. The bucket is currently full. You're filling this bucket up, and then you've got leaks. You now know the rate at which water is flowing outside of the bucket. And that churn rate is going to be a percentage we're going to use to help us figure out how many new clients we need to sign on. Because the amount of clients and customers you need to bring on every month should be factoring churn in, right? And you'll be able to quickly see how that starts to come about. So then the next new thing you need to figure out is number of new clients needed, okay? Now, this is where things get a little bit more complex to calculate. I tend to do this inside of Excel spreadsheets. But to keep things really, really simple, think about it like this. Let me just move over here, draw. Let's say you have 10 clients and those 10 clients pay you 3K per month. So you're currently at 30K per month, right? Now your churn rate is 20%, right? So currently you're losing 2 clients. Now your goal is to get to 100K per month. in order to get to 100K per month, what you need is, I should have changed this to 2.5 just to make it easier. 25K, my bad. So in order for you to get to 100K per month, what you need is 40 clients at 2.5K per month. So now you got your number, 40 clients. You currently have 10 and you need 40 to get to 100K per month. Now, because your leakage is 20%, you know that in order for you to get to 40 clients a month, right? If you're at a 20% churn rate, that means you're going to be losing 8 new clients per month. You need to at least be adding eight new clients per month. That's how you need to think. So I need to get to 40 clients. At 20% churn, I'm then losing 8 clients. So for me to eventually get to 40 clients a month and be at 100K per month consistently, I need to at least be adding 8 new clients per month. Because now, let's say you're at 40 clients, you lose 8 clients, you add 8 clients, you lose 8 clients, you add 8 clients, you lose it. Keeps going, you're just going to stay at that 100K mark because you're adding in exactly the amount that you're trying to lose. So now I go, all right, great, perfect. I need add 8 new clients per month. And then you can just set that as the target, or you can start small and then eventually, scale it up. But when you're at that 40K month mark, you need to be adding on 8 new clients per month. Now, if you're aggressive like me, you would just straight up set this as the target right off the bat, right? So you'd go, okay, my goal is to add 8 new clients per month, right? And there is actually, if you did this on an Excel spreadsheet, you'd actually be able to see by what month you'd be able to hit that goal by. It's way too hard to calculate it like this, but if I was to think, so it's like 8, 18, you're losing 20%. You might be able to get there in, it's so hard to estimate, maybe 6 months or something like that. So then what you can do is spread it out a little bit, right? But you will eventually have a cap that you won't be able to grow past if you're not adding enough clients. So for example, if your churn rate is 20% and you get to 20 clients per month, you're now going to lose 4 clients a month. And so if you're not adding at least 4 clients a month, you're now going to go backwards. If you're only adding 4 clients a month, you're going to stay stuck at 20 clients a month. That's how agencies get stuck, because they are losing the same amount of clients that they are bringing on. So you either have to reduce your churn, or you need to increase the amount of new clients that you're bringing on and then fix up churn at a later stage, or do it or both simultaneously. But that is pretty much what you need to do. And you go, okay, I need 8 new clients. Now, let's say you have figured out how many new clients you want to sign on. Perfect. Now we move to the next thing, which is you need to figure out what your close rate is. Now, this is why I said that things like this sound great in theory, but they are much harder in practice, because if you have no experience running ads, like paid ads, and you're just launched into a new offer, you're moving into a new niche, it is going to take you a hot minute and enough sales calls, enough trial and error to actually figure out what your close rate is, right? Like with me, when I entered into my new niche, I started with my close rate being really high, and then I realized what I was selling, I wanted to change, and so I changed my pitch. Then my close rate went down, then it went back up, then it went back down, then I did sales training and got sales coaching, then it went back up. And it took a while for me to actually build my sales system that I use to consistently convert people at my close rate percentage of paid ads, which is around 30 to 40%. So it's going to take a while for you to actually figure this out. But if you can estimate it, let's say if you're on paid ads, let's just say you're converting, worst case scenario, let's say 20%. Okay. All right, great. So now that you estimate that your close rate is going to be 20% and you need to add 8 new clients a month, then you can just reverse engineer that and figure out how many calls you actually need to attend. And now you've set your core KPI, okay? So 8 new clients, I can quickly, 8 divided by 0.2. You need 40 calls. 40 calls per month. Okay. That's now your KPI. You need to find a way to get 40 calls per month. Now, 40 calls per month is roughly, say, 10 per week. Now, that's how many calls you need to be attending per week. Now, then you go, okay, now what's my show rate, right? When I book a call, what percentage of people show up? Again, another thing that takes time to actually start to properly lock in. But for me, I've got this optimized quite well, and we're at like 75%. So 75% is my show rate. So then you go actual booked calls. So the amount of booked calls you need is 40 divided by 0.75, 53. So this is how many 53, you need 53 booked calls in your calendar. And out of those 53, 40 will actually end up showing up with a 75% 75% show rate. And then we keep going. So now that I know that I need to get 53 booked calls, I then, oh my gosh, then you reverse engineer it and you estimate your cost per booked call, right? What's your cost per booked call for CPBC, right? So let's say it depends on what niche you're in, but let's say your cost per booked call is around, say, $200. So every $200 in ads you spend, in ad spend, you get one booked call. Now you actually know how much ad spend you need, because you just go 200 multiplied by 53, which I think is 10,600. Now you know your ad spend. And see, this is the funny thing. Like, I've been in my situations like this before. I've worked with agency owners, similar situation where they want to grow, all their metrics look great, and I'm just like, why aren't you spending more money? And they're like, oh, I don't know. I don't know if I should spend more money. I'm like, all your metrics are telling you you should spend more money. Like, you aren't going to just magically hit your targets. You need to make sure there's enough input to get the output that you want. So if your cost per book call is $200, and so long as, and you're getting that, that means you're going to be profitable. So long as you hit all these other metrics, right? Because a $200 cost per call and a 20% conversion rate, what that leaves you with is around 1K CPA, I believe. Or 1.2K CPA. Sorry, bad maths right now. No, 1K CPA. So $1,000 cost per acquisition. So now, if you're selling like a service for 2,000 a month, 2.5, that should be pretty good for you in terms of a cost per acquisition. But now you have your ad spend, okay? So then you take it a step further and you go, okay, now that I know my cost per book call needs to be $200, then you can start to take a look at the metrics that contribute to you actually achieving this. So for me, what I look at is lead to booked call percentage. And this is a KPI that I set for my appointment setters. So let's say it's at 20%, right? So then if this is at 20%, then I can actually figure out what my cost per lead needs to be. So if I go 200 times 2, $40 CPL. CPL needs to be $40. If I can acquire a lead for $40, 20% of them will convert into a booked call, which means I've spent $200 for a booked call. And if I spend 10,600 a month, I'm then going to get 53 booked calls on my calendar. If 75% of them show up, I'm going to have 40 booked calls, 10 a week. If I close 20% of them, then I've closed 8 new clients a month. And if I can do this consistently month in, month out, I will eventually get to 40 clients a month, which is where I will begin to stagnate, because I'm going to be losing 8 and gaining 8, but I'm actually going to be at $100,000 per month in revenue. Now, this is where the hard work actually comes in. Like I said, it's easy to put together these numbers, but now the hard work comes in, because figuring out churn is a very tough thing to figure out in an agency. This takes you losing a lot of clients before you actually get enough pay, deliver your service, and reap process, revamp, revamp. Oh my gosh, the list goes on and on and on and on and on, right? Restructure your contract, set expectations better. It's, yeah. Is an experience with itself. It is very difficult to prove. So at the beginning, you may often play. This might be 40%, right? And then that goes out. So again, it's easy in theory, but it's hard to practice, right? Closing at 40%, that takes its time. You know, if you're only used to closing referrals and word of mouth in the past, now try to do that. Try to close cold customers who have no idea who you are. You're probably going to have to learn how to do sales training, maybe get sales coaching, probably have to do a whole bunch of calls before you understand your market well enough, you understand your pitch well enough, trial enough things, get comfortable enough to eventually get to a consistent close rate. So you may be at 5% to begin with, and then eventually you might be able to actually bring that up. Like where I'm at the moment is like 30 to 40%. So that takes time, and it takes a lot of effort. For you to get to a point where you can even handle 40 booked calls a month is going to be challenging, right? Because if you're doing everything, you're doing the client delivery, you're speaking to the clients, the onboarding calls, you're managing the team, you're recruiting, you're hiring, it's going to take a while for you to eventually even be able to scale up to take on that many calls. And then you're going to have to hire a closer probably to start taking on those calls, depending on what your strengths are, whether you have a business partner or not, like all of it, so subjective. But that takes time. Getting your show rate to 75% takes time. Learning how to actually spend this much and be able to learn how to actually profitably scale your spend without your ads results dipping. Training your appointment setting team to eventually get to these 20-25% lead to booked call conversion rate. Actually being able to stay at your CPL of $40. All of this stuff is extremely difficult to actually do. But the point is, if you draw out your KPIs like this, and this is how you choose to look at your business day in and day out, you're now actually doing the hard work, because it's all hard work, but when you're doing the hard work, at least you're fixing a problem that's going to make a fucking difference, right? That's the whole point here. Because if I put all of my effort, right, into, oh, my thing's not scrolling in. But let's say I put all of my effort for a month into figuring out how I can get my hospital call down from 400 to 200, and I figure this out, right? Now, let's say I figure it out. Next month, I spend the same amount. I'm going to get twice as many booked calls and instantly double the amount of clients I'm signing on, if nothing else changes, right? So it will create such a massive impact in your business to just figure out one aspect and fix one criteria point here. If you spend a whole couple months just bringing this churn rate down from 20% to 10%, you now are able to double your business. You can literally get to 200K per month if you can get to a 10% churn rate before you need to sign on more than 8 new clients a month. I'm pretty sure that those are the numbers. That's how churn works. Like a small incremental reduction, like reducing your churn from 20 to 10% should not be underestimated. It makes the world of difference. So where most of you go wrong is, firstly, you don't know your metrics, you don't know your KPIs, and you never actually focused on your client acquisition and fixing your client acquisition whilst you're looking at your business like this. And that's where a lot of you are actually going wrong. Now, I did say I was going to talk about Instagram DMs. What I'll say with Instagram DMs, it's pretty much the same thing. The only thing that changes is from this section downwards. So instead of, for example, instead of like hospital people, calls, what would it be? It would be let's say link sent to book call percentage, reply rate, DM sent, number of DM sent. Really, so it's number of DMs sent and then booked call percentage. So for example, if you want to book 10 calls a week and you book 2%, 2% of your DMs end up in a booking. That means every 100, you get two calls. That means if you send 100 DMs a day, you're going to get, you're going to send 500 a week, and that's going to equal 10 booked calls. And again, you would adjust this based on the show rate, but let's just say 10 booked calls. So then you know you need to send 100 DMs a day. You need to get 2% of those people to book a call, and then you'll hit your targets. Now you know like what to focus on. So are we sending enough DMs a day? Are we getting 2% of people to convert? If not, why not? What's our reply rate? What's our link sent rate? What's our conversion when a link sent to actually booked call? What's our conversion rate from my triage call, for example, to a booked sales call, if that's your funnel? But you essentially break down the entire process, and then you reverse engineer it to eventually get back to how we're going to make this happen. So it's all pretty much just, I hope you guys enjoyed that video, and I can't express how important this stuff is. It took me a long time, a lot of mistakes made to actually understand this. I wish I knew this way back in the day. I couldn't even imagine where I would be if I knew this 3 years ago. So take it on board. Please jump to start implementing this stuff ASAP. And if you have any questions about this all, feel free to drop a comment or reach out to me on Instagram.